Hello, welcome to another Random Code stream. My name is Jason Bach, and in this stream, we're going to continue to work on this code fix that I was building up and starting in the next stream, or the last stream, not the next stream. And that'd be pretty clairvoyant, wouldn't it? in the last stream. So let me get my music started, and then I'll dive into things. All right. Make sure the level is correct. And it is. All right. So last stream got almost all this done, except I noticed that one of the tests wasn't passing. And it was this one. Now what it should have done is put this attribute in just once, but what it ended up doing is it put it in twice, which was kind of weird. I didn't understand why, and I kept looking at my code trying to figure out why is it being run twice. Well, I finally posted something to a .NET Discord server and did get a response. This is something that's actually kind of interesting about the way that the .NET test assembly helpers work if you're doing stuff with Roslyn. In this case, with this test project, I'm using the excuse me, not that project, this one, the code fix testing one. And what happens, and I've never seen this before because I never had the error that was an underlying error that was causing this behavior to happen. Apparently, if you look at my little run code fix, that's actually using code fix test, which is using something from that library. Yes, C# code fix test. And when you try to run a code fix, the first time the code fix suggests a change to your code, and that change is applied, but that change is actually still not correct, it will try to keep running the code fix to fix it up. Something like that. And the default is to do it twice. You can change that somewhere to do more, but it does it twice. And so I was just getting my code to be run twice, and so that's why we see this here. Now, why that wasn't putting the using directive in twice, I'm not sure, but the real problem was in this test project, I didn't have a reference to this project, and I also did not have a reference to that resulting assembly in the project here. Hold on, my cat is being annoying. Some days he just gets up in the morning and he is very... Come here. Gotta get my cat a kid. Come on. Oh, now he wants to leave. This is the way cats live, right? Tank. Come here. I think what he wants to, he's trained me now. Down the hallway, we have a split level house, and so now he wants to leave. I think what he wants to do, he wants to play, because we have an area down the hall in this kind of open area space, and he's trained me now that he'll whine and then go over there, and then I throw toys and he'll go play with them, and he loves that. But I think that's what he wants me to do. I'm like, cat, I don't have time. Not right now. You're cute, but not right now. Okay. So anyway, once I made this reference, everything worked as expected. So that's good. So I also created a scenarios solution because I like doing this whenever I have analyzers, code fixes, stuff like that. So then I can just run them directly here and see what happens. So you can see we're getting a red squiggle under here and telling that's not marked with that attribute. And then the code fix will do what it needs to do. Okay. But here's a couple things that I noticed. Okay. First thing is it'll put in the using directive. Well, what I realize is if the namespace of the type starts with this, then you don't need this. You can see here it's grayed out. Maybe a little bit hard to see, but it's grayed out. We don't need this using directive. So we should try to make the analyzer smart for that and say, you know, if the containing namespace starts with this name, this string, then you don't need to put that in. Yeah. So that's one thing we can tweak this a little bit with. So we want to see, do you have it in scope? But then we also want to say, well, and I have to also be a little bit careful here to play with this a little bit to say, if you have a using of something in scope that starts with this too, does that actually mean that you don't need the using? So that's one thing we need to tweak. The other thing though is that this class is not partial. Okay, and now we're getting a different error. It says we're missing the partial modifier. Okay, well there is a code fix for it, but it doesn't have any scope. It'll only do it here. So I don't want to have people reference this generator and now they have to change all their business objects to have this attribute on it and then have to go back and change all of them to be partial. That would kind of suck. So what the intent is for the code fix to also put in partial if it doesn't exist already. Okay. So that's what we're going to do in this stream. We're going to try to fix all that and get that to work correctly. Okay, so. Oh, and then one other thing too I changed here at the analyzer, I want to bring this up real quick, is when I mentioned this issue on the Discord channel, there was some discussion about, well, why are you doing syntax analysis? And then the syntax analysis was getting the symbol. There was some, not a lot, but there was some concern that that could actually be not as performant. And what you really should do is, if you're going to hit a symbol anyway, is that you should just use symbol action. And the reason that I sometimes do what I do is because I'm like, well, if you're just using syntax, just use use the syntax as a quick check for stuff. And then if you really want to check, do the symbol analysis, because I know that's a little bit more expensive. But actually, what I was doing with the syntax node was just turning around and getting a symbol anyway. So they said, just use a symbol action. And if you know you're going to get to a symbol, then just do that, because you're not saving anything. In fact, you might be hurting performance just a little bit. It wasn't a big concern, but it was like, if you can do everything in syntax, then yeah, use the register syntax node, I think, action or whatever that is. But if you're ever going to use symbols, just go right to the symbol action or use an operation action. So, good to know. Good to know. So that's what this has changed to now, and otherwise the code is still the same. So we're good there. So this generators. Okay. That one we don't need. We don't need this up. Just trying to get my head around everything that should be currently up. All right, running all the tests, we're good. Do we need to commit anything? Minor changes. I don't know. Okay, so down the code fix now, what we want to do is look to see if it's partial, and if it's not, then change it. We're also going to get rid of having different titles. That was one other thing I asked about, is that the code fix goes down a couple different paths. Do we want to have that, do we need to separate these different resulting paths out? And generally, I guess the answer is no, you don't. So we're just going to use this title for everything, and then we're not going to change the title for any of this. Okay. So in fact, with description here, we're just going to put this here because there's no reason to have a variable to reference that now. Wait. What it diagnose? That's got to stay. Yeah. Okay. That's not description. Okay. So we do want to say if it's not partial, and that's what this code can do, and we can put that into an extension method. And that's one other thing too that I got to do is write tests for these extension methods. What I keep saying this, what I really need to do is create a package that has all of these things in it. These little helpers that I've used in Rocks, I've used in this generator, I've used in a whole bunch of other projects that I've done that do code analysis with Roslyn, and publish that. That's what I really need to do. So yeah, we'll get there eventually. Part of the reason I don't do it is because I know trying to reference and package, get a reference to a package in a Roslyn-based package is a pain in the butt. It's doable. You can do it, but it's really hard. You want to minimize your dependencies and your transients as much as possible. And so if you're referencing another assembly or another package, you really hope that that package has no other dependencies on anything else other than the standard Roslyn stuff. Because otherwise then you have to pull those in, and then you have to pull theirs in. And it gets to be a huge mess. You have to do that actually, like explicitly pull them in. And it's really hard to get right, I've found. So yeah, not recommended. But the advantage is if I could do that, then I can have one place that has all these extension methods and whatnot, rather than having them all over the place, because that's kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, anyway, so let's go to completions, and let's have I named type symbol. Oh. Well, that sucks. Okay. The thing I realize is that we do not have context.semantic document. Yeah. So we're going to have to get the semantic model from this. Actually, no, we don't. Hold on. Because we're already at a class declaration. So if we say class node here, yeah, we can just do modifiers. In fact, we don't even need to create a separate extension method for that. So that's fine. So the first thing we want to say is add partial if it doesn't exist. So if not class node modifiers any, and then we just pull this in here. Okay, so if we don't have any modifiers, we want to say class node is equal to yeah, we're going to want to do yeah, a little bit of a tricky thing here is that we're doing the add attribute first here, and I think we're going to want to move the partial check above it, because then we're going to pass the modified class node into here, and we want the root to be the new root. So here we're going to want to say class node is equal to class node add, and we want a syntax token. New syntax token. Okay. How do we do this easily? Well, we cheat. Roslyn quoter. There we go. Sorry for the brightness of this partial class thing. And now what did it do to generate? Oh, we can just say that. Okay. Can add and convert. So what are we passing in here? Add syntax token. With modifiers. There. I think that's correct. Okay. Okay, so that should now add the attribute. And we don't really need to say new class node here. We can just say replace that. A little bit of a not like savings of any kind. So now the search here, this is where it does get a little tricky. I think what I want to do first is say requires using directive. And then do that. And so what I want to do here is now say check to see if the using is needs to be added. So now here's where we're going to change things. We want to flip everything around. And it really gets to here. Excuse me. I think the first thing we can do, though, is we can say yeah, trying to get the namespace out of the class node is going to be a little hard. So I think what we want to do here is say var type symbol is equal to, now we got to change this to an async task, and then change the naming to async. And then we got to wait it up here. And that is already an async method. Okay, so we want to say here now, await context dot, because I don't think you're given the yeah, we get the syntax right up here, but what we want is the context document semantic model, and then we want to get oh yeah, here declared symbol of class node as I named type symbol, because oh, yeah, we don't have to do that. Okay. Except we're going to basically say yes. We wouldn't have gotten here if we couldn't. That's at least my theory here. Okay. Yeah, I hate that they did this with namespace. I know why they did it, but it kind of is annoying. But we really only need the first part of this. They should actually return, because it says it returns null. Well, then why isn't a nullable type? What is this again? I namespace symbol. So the first thing we want to do is we want to say if name equals qualified name, return false. The reason why is because if the namespace symbol that we got, that's the first part, that would be basically what we're giving here is either this or nothing. So if we do have something and that name equals the qualified name here, and I think it has to be the first part here. It can't be anything within it. I think I already checked that. So that should be true. We'll have to write some tests to make sure of that. But if that equals, then we can just return false, because then we don't need it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the using directives, and we're going to determine now if you still need it or not. So, except we have to flip the story here. We do need to say requires. So if the using node name contains, now I'm not sure if that's true. These are using, yeah, these are looking at the using directives. So do you need a using if a, like if I needed something that was in code in now C# for whatever reason, because it's here, do you need that? I think you still do. I think it needs to be if the using name starts with. I think that's what we actually want to do. And then actually the using name, okay, split on equals that. I think that's correct because we want to split the using directive, and if there is no dot, we'll just get one thing back in the array. So we just want to look at the first one, and does that equal? In our case, we're good because we only have one part to our namespace. So in this case, this works out that this should be correct. So if you have that, you can just say return false. And then if you get down here, you can say return true, because then we do need it. And so then we'll put that in there. Okay. So that's a lot of cases now we do have to cover. There's like 3. This one is always going to happen. So there's technically 4 cases where you may or may not be partial and you may or may not need this. Though how you get to may or may not needing this is, you know, a couple of cases in and of itself. So, but I think we now have something. Let's see if we've busted any tests with this. And we might have, because I think that test isn't... Oh, no. Okay. Because it already was partial. Okay. So now we want to have a bunch of tests in here. Verify get fixes. And class is not partial. When class exists in namespace. You know, and here's the thing, though. I mean, we should put a tester on this, but what we're testing is to see, did you make a namespace that starts with this? Which is really ridiculous. The chances of that happening are nil to none. But we should... So now what we're saying here is we want the namespace to be this something else. We don't care what it is, and class is not partial. So now in this case, what we would expect is that we do not need this. We need the namespace though, and we need it to be partial. Well, yeah. Okay, let's stop there and see where else we get. Two failed, of course. The two tests we add are the two tests that fail, right? Yeah. Syntax node is not within syntax tree. Oh, really? Well. Okay. Oh, I know why. I know why. Because we changed it. In this case, we're changing the class node. And by that point, yeah, this node is no longer in this, so we should actually just get the symbol right away. Still failed, but it didn't think that it needed a partial. If I'm interpreting this right, it thinks it does not need a partial class. Okay, so somewhere in here. Oh, yeah. We need to say root is equal to root. Replace and in this case we're going to have to do this because we need a class node. Okay. Still two failed. Public. That ain't right. So it obviously got in here and did something, but it definitely did not do the right thing. Add modifiers. Maybe. Maybe. I feel like I'm playing whack-a-mole here. It's public class? What is this thing doing? Are we getting into this? It's running it multiple times because we're doing wrong code here. So we add modifiers and we're adding tokens. And so now we're saying on the root, replace the original class node with this new class node that should have, oh my God. Well, that would explain it. Sort of. Oh, that, okay. I just realized what it did. I think. Still failing. Context. Iterative code fix application. Expected 1 iteration but found 2. Okay, what I think it was doing is that we're saying if you don't have any partial keywords on this node, then add public to it. So you're getting public class, which was incorrect. That wasn't syntactically correct. So then we got to the thing I just mentioned at the beginning of the stream, which is it tried to run it again, and it did, well, you don't have partial, so let's put in public class. But now this should be correct. You should be able to put in that we have a partial. So now I am a little bit confused. We should see that we get correct code. Unless, oh, well, that's, okay, hold on. Let's put in a test just to handle the partial case, because I think we now are introducing another error, which is the using statement is incorrect. Class is not partial. So now we want to see this, and now we want to have that. Okay, I think what we're getting here is, well, that was the same thing. Okay, hold on. Let's take that out. I think we're not realizing we need to put this in here or something, or we put this in here. Now let's so we're going to say class modifiers. So we're going to add a new class node that should be public partial class. So we're going to return that. Now we add the attribute. Actually, I want to check something. Sorry, blinding. Maybe we do normalize white space on it, because I notice now that root, if you look at root to string, you'll notice that there's no space in here. So it might need normalization, maybe? I don't know. Let's continue on. So we're going to add the attribute. That's a given. And now we need to say, do you require a using directive? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, it's going to be the global namespace, so we don't need to return false for that. Hold on, I gotta put this here. Still getting used to my coffee mug warmer. I don't particularly like, because I don't have a ton of space on my desk here where it ended up and the flow of things on my desk. But oh well, maybe need a bigger desk. All right, let's skip over this because we don't need to do that. So now what we're going to say is we should expect to have to add this, right? Because I don't think... Yes, so we're going to say add it. Oh, and then we never add... Oh, wait a minute. We are... Yeah, we're adding the using, so that should be fine. So now if I say root to string, So we are adding the using. And now we register the code fix. But now we come back in here. Because it's getting run twice. But we don't change anything. Wait. Why did it not put the attribute on the type? Hold on. Oh. Keep forgetting this. Yeah, we can't. We got it. I know what's wrong. Is that one, we're not changing class node to new class node. And we're not doing the same thing up here either. So we don't need to do it down here. This is just adding and using it. At that point, we don't need the class node, but we do need it here. I think we need to say class node is equal to new class node. Still two failed. I'm almost thinking of getting rid of this helper method here because I don't think it's really helping. And then we want to say I know it's going to bark. And then we can take this off. Then we want to add the attribute. Okay. And then we can say here. Still two failed. Why would you do 2 iterations? No, I just ran that. Oh, now I put the... that's not what I wanted. Yeah, I've got the feeling that this is going to be... He's yeah, but it's putting normalized white space. So you say in class declaration with modifiers, and then it says normalize the whole thing, and that's not what I want. Like if I say public class base type. Yeah, that's not really what I want. I think the problem is by trying to put that partial in, well, and we're not adding the attribute. Okay, I'm really confused at this point. So now root should have partial in it, and it does. Okay. So now we're going to add the attribute. That's the whole point of why we're doing this code fix. And I got to watch my time here. So we're going to say to the class node that is public partial, we're going to say add the attribute list. So we're going to have a new class node. And this new class node is that. So now we're going to say replace the class node that does not have the attribute with the class node that does have the attribute. So now root should have, but it doesn't. we're saying up here that the new modified class node should be replacing this one in this root, and then we have a new root. And then we're also making sure that class node is equal to this new modified class node. So when you come down here, this class node should be the one that's partial, and it is. And so now we're saying replace class node with this one that has generator serializable on it, but it's not doing it. It's like it's thinking this one is not in this root. Okay, root seems to have the modified class node in it. And class node seems to be partial, so if we do all this, new class node now has generator serializable on it. So now we're going to say change the class node to new class node. So if we say root to string, that's what we have. And so now if we say replace, it's not replacing it. But why? This doesn't make any sense. I'm going to reverse these around. And we're going to just say var new class node is equal to class node. And so new class node is what we do with the attribute list. We're going to say replace on the root class node with new class node. And then we're going to say no. So class node is equal to new. Now, it's that. We're going to say replace with that. And we really don't need to do that because after this point, class node is never used. Now it's not adding partial. It puts the attribute in, but now it's not doing the second. Why? I'm just flailing at this point. I don't know what. Yeah, it's not doing the second one now. I don't understand why. Well, I can... Okay, fine. That's the one that you should be replacing. So you would figure by... that should be what is now in the tree. But it's not. Root, find node. Now what? How is that a... What? What? I'm sorry. I'm really... This is really frustrating me. Really frustrating me. Actually, I just thought of something that might get around this, but I'm kind of curious. How is new class node? How is it span? Okay, you know what I'm going to do? Screw this. I almost said something else. So, what we're going to do is do this all in one shot before we replace it on the root. We're going to say new class node. Fine, we got a new class node with add attribute list on it. It's got the attribute on it. Now we're going to say, hey, does that have any modifiers on it? And if it doesn't, we're going to say new class node is equal to new class node, add modifiers on it. Now we're just going to go right to the root and replace it, because at that point we don't need it. And of course, you good? You good. Now it passes. So we just do all the changes on the node, and then once we have all the changes on it, we do this, and then we'll also just look at the usings which don't need the node anymore. So, yeah. Okay. Coding is so much fun. Such a great grand old time. Why don't you just use Claude to do this? I honestly... maybe I would have done the right thing here. I don't know. But, hey, this was fun. Or some version of fun. Alright, so now what happens when we run all the tests? Well, now we're getting this one to fail, probably. Oh, it doesn't pick up. It's putting this in here even though it doesn't need it. So we're not getting the right logic here of this. Okay, that's fine. We didn't really test that anyway, so... Well, we did. We just didn't confirm that it's working correctly. So this one, it is putting partial, it is putting this here, but we do not need that as a using. Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's my fault. Namespace, symbol, namespace. Containing namespace. And then the containing namespace is global, will be true. So we want to get the root namespace, which I think I've done this before, because that's the one that we want. Because we want to get the one that is before the global namespace, not the one in front. Coding is so much fun. I'll go for a couple more minutes here. Okay. Now we could also be given something where this is the global namespace itself. If is global, we return false. No. If it doesn't equal this, why is it barking? Now what we want to do is while namespace symbol containing namespace is global. While it's not that, oh, you didn't pick up that we do the change there. Namespace symbol is equal to okay, so if we see and then we do this check here. Because if the thing coming in is a global namespace, we move on. And then because we might, then we're going to see if we still need it. If it isn't a global namespace, then we keep looking to say, well, while the current namespace is containing namespace isn't a global namespace, we get that containing namespace. So we're going to keep moving until we get to one whose containing namespace is a global namespace. And then we're going to look at that symbol's name and say if it's equal to the qualified name. Then we return false and say we don't need it. Now all the tests pass. That doesn't mean that this is all correct. We need more tests. But I am kind of at the end of my time for this stream, so gotta go to the day job. So we did definitely make progress. I think I will be doing another coding stream either tomorrow or Thursday morning, and hopefully by then I can finish this up. Have all the tests in the world, have scenarios in place, and then I can be done with this. And I really want to get this done because Rocky's going to push a final version of 10.0 for CSLA, hopefully this week. Somebody came up with something that might delay that even more, but I want to have this ready to go so that when 10 is pushed, the final version, I can push a 2.0 and have this available. So yeah, I will do another coding stream either tomorrow or Thursday, and then the next thing lined up is a little fun extension method I want to put in Spackle for big integers. So that's it for now. So anybody who was watching, or if you watch this in the future and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I would really appreciate it. Again, next coding stream will be either tomorrow, Wednesday morning, or Thursday morning. And then I will also be streaming tonight Control. That will start around 6:30 or 7. For now, I'm done with the stream. Thank you all for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you in the future.